wow, is that
Okay, well, welcome everyone to Northern Light Spiritual Center, a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. And Northern Light Spiritual Center offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes where? In our lives. And our promise to reveal, inspire, uplift, celebrate, and magnify your greatness. We must acknowledge that much of what we know in the country today, including its culture, economic growth, and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants who suffered the horror of transatlantic trafficking, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little recognition. We are indebted to their labor and sacrifice, and we acknowledge the tremors of violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact that can still be felt and witnessed today. And we acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded lands of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and coastal Salish people. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous history as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth.
Just keep talking.
So that leads us to our opening song, which is in this very room. So please join me if you care to, or just be sung to if you'd like that.
In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world.
And in this very room,
There's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. So Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room.
and now we're going to swap over, and Michael is going to lead a meditation.
I need it.
Good morning.
Morning.
We're just having little technical problems here. But, so let's just allow ourselves to get comfortable. Just allow your body to become restful and at ease as you find that sweet spot, whether you're sitting, standing, lying, or whatever, however your position.
So today, it's going to be simple. Because you've already released everything that came before this moment. I'm inviting us today to focus on our breath. The breath that feeds us. The breath intake that goes in and feeds every organ in our body. Fills our blood with oxygen. And then as we release the carbon dioxide that we no longer need. But the plants, the trees, the greenery, they love it. It feeds them. So this is a reciprocal universe in so many different ways. Realizing that our breath feeds the plants and trees. And in turn, we get fed by the oxygen that we breathe in. It is such a beautiful thing. It's so simple. We don't even have to think about it. It's just done naturally, easily. And so for a few minutes, as you breathe in and release, we'll do a couple more deep breaths in. And breathe in. And release. And one more. Breathe in and hold it. Breathe in. And release. And now as you settle into your normal breathing, just focus on your breath. How it comes in and how it goes out so easily. As you are sitting in a restful position, your body relaxes with each breath. It doesn't take much to take a breath in, as we just allow it to naturally flow. Where the inner and the outer connect with each other. Breathing in and allowing that breath to feed us, to nurture us, to sustain us with life. That is the breath of God. Feeds us. Realizing that the body is such an intelligent mechanism that even while we're sleeping, the breathing goes on. We don't have to tell it to do it. It's just there. It knows exactly what to do. sitting, standing, walking, running, or sleeping. The divine presence has bestowed upon this human form the idea of breathing. So in this moment, I invite you to wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're comfortable, open your eyes. And come back to the room. And so it is.
So we have our declaration. I believe that's what we have here. So our declaration is,
Un momento.
you will see it. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. Second time. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And finally, we are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And so it is.
And so is. Oh,
The musical now.
yes. Yes. Is it me?
Yes. There we go.
I have an assistant today.
Who's being good
Yes,
now.
trying to behave herself.
Since she got in trouble.
Yeah.
She got a little scolded. I don't do that very often, but sometimes I find if I raise my voice or do my voice a certain level, she will listen.
Oh no, there was much listening.
Okay, so today's reading is by Arlen Kunik, and it's called The Tension Between Inner and Outer Self.
Mm.
The tension between the inner self and the outer self is common in the modern world. Each of us is tugged in multiple directions every day, and our actions and behaviors do not always align with our core values as a result. However, becoming aware of your inner self and how it balances with your outer self is the foundation of good mental, physical, and spiritual health. This is why it is important and an important aspect to consider when working on good balance in your life. The outer self. At times, it is helpful to present a different outer self to the world than what we've experienced on the inside. Most of us weigh the pros and cons of sharing our true feelings depending on what we expect in each set of circumstances. The outer self is what we present to the world, and we usually try to curate it to reflect the best. However, problems arise when this becomes a habitual pattern at the expense of your true feelings. The outer self is generally concerned with material things, such as how you present yourself, hair, clothes, etc., as well as groups you belong to or personas that you portray. Your outer self spends its time coping with the demands of school, work, home, life, and whatever other real-world distractions you experience each day. This external world can be demanding, leaving little time for you to consider whether what is taking place on the outside of your life matches what you ultimately desire on the inside, the inner self. In contrast to the outer self, the inner self is about what can't be seen: feelings, intuition, values, beliefs, personality, thoughts, emotions, fantasies, spirituality, desire, and purpose. A strong inner self means that you cope well with your emotions, as self-aware, have clarity, and a good sense of your values, and feel a purpose in life. It also means that you are able to remain calm and resilient in the face of adversity from the outer world. Now we have the conflict between the inner and outer self. Problems begin when the inner self and the outer self are in conflict or out of balance. In its simplest terms, a conflict between the inner and the outer self refers to a mismatch. You think one thing, but do another. The greater the conflict, the wider the differences between what the inner self believes is right and what the outer self does. This conflict ultimately causes stress that can be damaging to the mind, body, and spirit. Often this conflict arises due to spending too little time considering your inner self. How much of the time are you running on empty, just struggling to get through the demands of the day, without considering whether your actions and behaviors are in line with your inner self? The conflict between the two selves can result in stress, which makes you more vulnerable to illness. Your daily functions may also be affected. You may feel successful on the outside, but empty on the inside. When this happens, you may also be at risk for quick fixes to heal your pain, such as turning to drugs or alcohol. One way to identify if you are experiencing a conflict between your inner and outer selves is to identify gaps between your true values and outer actions. Point one is to take a moment and list your core values. These might be like believing in the value of honesty, integrity, friendship, and helpfulness. Second one is to make a list of activities that you do each day that is in alignment with each value. Examples might be including calling friends to see how they are doing, or telling the truth even when it is difficult. That's a good one. And the third one is look for values that have little actions each day to support them. This is where you will find your conflict. If you value friendship but spend each day alone, that reflects a conflict between your values, inner self, and your actions, your outer self. Now, balancing the inner and outer self. Once you've identified the problematic areas in your life, it is time to begin quieting your outer self with a goal of connecting with your inner self. Slow down, focus on the moment, and listen to your thoughts as you go about your day. If you still feel in conflict, consider whether you might need to make life changes to address these issues. Perhaps a new job, change of relationship, or ending of friendships might be in order. Only you will know the specific changes, what specific changes might help to align you with your true inner self. While thinking about what changes you need to make, it might be helpful to ask yourself the following questions. Does your current life require you to stifle deeply held values? That's a good one. what do you most want to pursue in life? Does this match what you are doing? And the third question is, will you feel good about the choices you are making at the end of your life? And so it is. So it is. Young Sprout? Hi. She wanted to say hi.
So, happy May, and we have a new chant for the month of May. It's repetitive, so it's long, but it's easy once you kind of recognize the pattern. And Michael has brought it up there, but it has not come up on the PowerPoint that's living here. So the words are, there's light along with shadow. So actually, I'll give you the context. We often consider, for this month, we're looking at the light within the shadow. So we often consider light and dark as distinct opposites. We consider the encouragements to embrace the light and avoid the dark. Yet light and dark coexist together. And it's a pair that works in unison. So this month we'll explore ways to appreciate and welcome both light and dark. The chant, there's light along with shadow. There's light along with dark. What's right calls me to follow. My light, it leaves my mark. I shine the light I'm made of. I seek the truth inside. I brighten all that life gave. I speak my truth with pride. I am light, I am bright, I am life, I shine. I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine. I am light, I am bright, I am life, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine. So please join me if you care to, or be sung to if you'd rather that. Sorry, something just is really out of tune. That's it. I couldn't do that.
So the bottom part is to, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine. So, cut it off.
Okay. I just couldn't. There's light among the shadow. There's light along with dark. What's right calls me to follow. My light, it leaves my mark. I shine the light I'm made of. I seek the truth inside. I brighten at light day. I speak my truth with pride. I am light, I am bright, I am life, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine. I am light, I am bright, I am life, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine. Now you know this, we switch it up to you. There's light along with shadow. There's light along with dark. What's right within you follow. Your light, it leaves your mark. You shine
the light you're made of. We seek the truth inside. You brighten all that life gave. You speak your truth with pride. You are light, you are bright, you are light, you shine, you shine, you shine, you shine, you shine. You are light, you are bright, you are light, you shine, you shine, you shine, you shine, you shine.
Now we change it over to we.
There's light along with shadow, there's light along with dark. What's right calls us to follow, our light that leaves our mark. We shine the light we're made of, we seek the truth inside. We brighten all that life gave, we speak our truth with pride. We are light, we are bright, we are light, we shine, we shine, we shine, we shine, we shine. We are light, we are bright, we are light, we shine, we shine, we shine, we shine, we shine.
Now we come back to I, and really own it this time, since you know it now.
There's light along with shadow, there's light along with dark. What's right calls me to follow, my light it leaves my mark. I shine the light I'm made of, I seek the truth inside. I brighten all that life gave, I speak my truth with pride. I am light, I am bright, I am light, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine. I am light, I am bright, I am light, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine.
So thank you for playing my game.
Oh, you know that. I found it.
So I hope everyone recognizes and appreciates this artist.
My wings were heavy, I could not fly, haunted by dreams that were meant to come true. Love was there, I couldn't.
Sorry.
And you said God is all there is. God is all there will ever You cannot lie, haunted by dreams that were meant to come true. God is right there, you just have to see it. Let the voice of salvation come shining through you, and just sing, God is all there is. God is all there will ever be. God is all there is. God is all there will ever be. God is all there is. God is all there will ever be.
So we can send out the link to that, if God is all there ever is. Today we're going to be talking about how we have inner and outer lives. And we express outwardly in our interactions with others and how we move through the physical world. Yet we also process inwardly through our thoughts and emotions. And when we can bring these into greater alignment, our inner and outer lives can work more harmoniously. So who's in for that? Harmony between our inner and outer lives. Can I get thumbs
Harmony,
up? Or is
yes.
like, no, don't want to do. So many of us are familiar with the notion from Ernest Holmes. He suggests all the creative process. We live in the midst of light and shadow, in the midst of light and darkness, in the midst of male and female. We live in the midst of so many apparent polar opposites. And yet, the creative idea, the seed, moves into the creative subconscious. And that then comes forward into form, or the creative manifestation. So that's the notion of the creative process. And each one of us are individual places where that creative process takes place. Now, why am I going over something that's so ho-hum, and we're familiar and we've heard this 1,000 times? The reason I'm saying it is that even when we know it, we can forget it. And things happen in our lives, and we're like, I didn't have any part of creating this. This isn't me. How can this be me? And what we can find ourselves, I won't say ourselves, what I can find myself with is that I can get into a place of what I consider righteous indignation, righteous anger. I am disturbed once again by another mass shooting. We have had as many mass shootings as we have had days in the calendar this year. And our political leaders just shake their heads and they say, they're in my thoughts and prayers. And my righteous anger is, well, I love your thoughts and prayers, but would you do a thing? Would you do a thing? Would you stand up to this body that has constructed itself as this money vehicle? And would you set some limits? I mean, the whole notion, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Except it's people with guns killing people. And it's, sometimes it's people who own guns that don't seem all that bright. So I'm being in judgment here. They don't seem all that bright that they can't lock it up, and their toddler can't open the drawer and get themselves shot. And it's back to their prayers and thoughts. Now, I bring this up because it's really pertinent to me today. And I don't know how you all feel, but I just know that it drives me crazy. It makes me so angry. And then the thing, I have to stop. I have to pause because it keeps happening, and I have to turn it around a little bit. And I've got a practice for this that I'll talk about later on so that we can do it. But I have to be able to say, what is going on in that other person? And how do I look at that other person as a person? How do I look at those leaders who I'm judging and I'm projecting onto them every crappy thing in myself. So here's the thing I start to look at. Have I ever said I would do something and then failed to follow through? No, I've never done that, have I? Well, actually, as I start, if I start to ask myself, have I ever done what is making me so angry that the other people are doing? The way to make the creative process powerful is to recognize that I've got all of that submerged in my unconscious. Years ago, more than 100 years ago now, a person named Carl Jung had come up with the idea of the shadow. And to a large extent, science of mind, religious science, has done an excellent job at bringing forward the light. We call God those names of power and light and beauty and truth. But one of the things that's operating here is that the human mind, one of the ways that the human mind operates is in something called binaries. So I'm going to try an experiment. If I say night, you would say
Day.
If I say black, you might say
White.
See, look how quick we all get into this game. We've been taught, and it's a pattern, it's a habit of mind that is so easy to do. And again, I'm going to come back and visit that a little bit more. So in order to learn the process of understanding that creative process and to be more conscious of it, there's going to be three things I'm going to have us consider. I'm going to have us knowing our mind, I'm going to have us expressing our authenticity, and I'm going to have us engage with the great both and, rather than the either or. So three things today. The knowing our minds, expressing our authenticity, and embracing the great both and over either or. Carl Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." We can shift all of those things that happen. Has anybody ever manifested something and we said, I don't know where that came from? Have you ever, it's like this shows up in your life and I'm like, this is not me. This is not me. This has nothing to do with me. First of all, that some people would call that denial. The other thing that may happen, perhaps you heard my tone of voice. There are a couple things to notice. How strongly do we deny something? The strength of it is inversely proportional to how much we're attached to it. So, it's actually directly proportional. I didn't do that. Do you remember as a little kid? I didn't do that. They did it. They did it. The emphasis of the they did it. They're shouting, they're jumping. It's directly proportional to our sense of ownership. So by knowing our minds, it's about becoming more conscious of it. Michael talked about it in a way to see and become more conscious is to check where do our values, where do our living fall out of sync? Where do they fall out of place? So what are the things we can do to know our minds? We can watch for our emotional triggers. We can watch for when we fall into blame. A process that we often do is that we engage in something that Freud, years ago, he's taken his fair share of shots because, he was moderately misogynistic, and he was moderately anti-feminist, and he was moderately a whole bunch of other things, and not even moderately, but but at the same time, and so rather than just he was this way or this way, he was this way or this way, he was somebody who was starting to explore the complexity of the human mind and not leaving it like a little black box that could not be approached. He proposed that one of the ways that we cope in our lives is a process, and I'm sure many of you have heard it, called projection. With projection, when we project our shadow onto somebody else. Now, I won't name any names, but there's a particular political figure who has, when they were coming down an escalator, talked about all of the terrible migrants. And caught a wave. This was somebody who challenged the citizenship of President Obama, who spent all of this time trying to say, these people are in and those people are out, who's built a great deal of political capital on finding out that a whole bunch of people actually do believe that. The United States cast and people of color know this, the United States cast a magical spell saying when Obama was president, all prejudice and all racism was over. Except that Michelle Obama and Barack Obama underwent more scrutiny and the amount of venom that was spewed towards them. I mean, to be honest, I believe that when they do polls, Michelle Obama is like one of the most beloved of all people in this country. But that also made her, for that proportion of the country, the biggest target. Anything that she embraced was cast off as terrible. So if she embraced fitness, down with fitness. If she embraced good eating, down with good eating. If she embraced, let's care for our wounded veterans, down with our wounded veterans. Let's not even think about them. It costs a lot of money. Let's not think about them. Michelle Obama has written about her experiences of coping with that. She's written about her anger at the kind of hatred that particular people targeted on her and her daughters and her husband. And at one of the political speeches she talked, when they go low, we go high. But the problem is that sometimes, no matter how high we try to go, other people around us may also go low. And the trick is, Michelle Obama described it, it's like, how do we stay committed to our value of staying high, of going to that place of principle, to that place of love and justice and compassion and kindness. So that first thing is knowing our minds, and sometimes we know our minds by recognizing what we don't want to own. Am I projecting all of my own crap onto figures that I don't like? And parallel to that, but a little bit more disturbing is, do I project my own power? Do I project my own capacity onto, well, I could never do anything like Michelle Obama. I could never be forgiving like that in the face of that kind of, aggression and horrors that were thrown on her. As long as I make her my golden shadow versus my dark shadow. So if I have my inner Michelle Obama and my inner how do I recognize and reclaim what I'm projecting onto each of them? And that's a question to have you consider. Know your mind. See with the emotions that are triggered what comes up. Now, the second thing to explore is expressing our authenticity. It's really hard, that first step about knowing our mind is, if we know our mind, then we're in a better position to express our authenticity. Because how can we really be ourselves if we don't know who ourselves is? How often do we try? How often do we cling to the notion of being something that somebody set up for us as the good thing to be? I can't speak for anybody here, but I know that there were certain things that I tried to do to please others that really weren't congruent with myself. And again, I'll tell a little story. This one should be pretty obvious to folks, but it wasn't obvious to me then. I got married to a woman because I thought that's how it would be. Now, I spent 2 years after I got back from Ireland. I spent 2 years watching my roommate get dressed. I love to watch Chuck get dressed. Now, this should have been a clue to me. This should have been a clue that, I was dating a girl, but I was like, oh, I can't be close to you because, you're not supposed to do that when you're Catholic. You're not supposed to be like that. And yet, there were a lot of Catholics that were like that. I went to the University of Notre Dame, and people referred to it, the one professor referred to it as Catholic Disneyland. So I'm here at Catholic Disneyland, and I'm saying, I can't be like this because that's not what Catholic people do. No, bull. It was exactly what Catholic people do and did, except for me. Except for me. I really was not, and again, it's like complete cluelessness. My authenticity is like, well, let's see what's happening. I'm at the beach, and I'm just like, he's cute. But I didn't say that out loud. I'm just thinking that. And I'm thinking that there's, you can't say this. It took my ex-wife asking to reunite with her former lover who was a woman. It took that. It took them getting back together. It took them being together a year before I kind of could finally look at myself and say, a lot of straight men might be a little disturbed that their wife is interested in another woman. And why am I not particularly disturbed? So authenticity, and I tell this story because, I'm over that. It's been a while. But I remember the struggle to try to come out. I'm in my 30s trying to come out. And my mother's response is, it's like Peyton's Place. It's just like Peyton's Place. My dad is like, oh, I'm not really surprised. Well, thanks. And then, I remember the gradual process of coming out to people at work. And they're like, thank you, I'm glad that you're owning it because it's been pretty clear. It's like, this is not a newscast, but thank you because I'm really glad that you feel comfortable to share that with me. I'm really glad that you feel that you can do that. So for me, part of that authenticity was owning who I actually was and letting myself feel at peace about that. Now, there's a whole language around coming out. But I dare say that there's a coming out process for many, many things in our lives. I mean, when I came out to my mother, I'm a Democrat. I mean, that was as terrible as my being gay. And she said, is that because you're gay? Oh. You're a Democrat? Well, there's a factor of that, but there are the log cabin Republicans, and I'm just not that. So take a moment and think about ways that you come out, ways that you made yourself more authentic to people in your lives. Another way that I came out was to be able to say, I'm done with this. I'm done with the way that the school district chooses to treat black and brown boys and girls. I'm done with writing a report and not mentioning anything about racial identity. I'm done with not acknowledging that the family of a black student has to engage in a conversation with their black child about how to move through the world so that they aren't killed by police, so that the medical system doesn't leave them in a position of greater harm. I put that in my reports. I name it in my meetings because I'm done with staying silent about it. I'm done with pretending that it isn't a big deal. I'm done with this, with standing in a school district that says, oh, we really value racial equity. We really value racial equity as long as you don't say anything in any place that's public. As long, like I'm at a school and out of the 5 women that we're losing, all 5 of them are women of color. 5 of the 5 people we're losing are women of color. And I said in our building leadership team meeting, this is complete injustice. The district very specifically talks about having people of color in the school classrooms so that children see themselves, and the 5 people we're getting rid of, the 5 people that we are whose positions are being cut are women of color. Why aren't we doing something to change that? Now, I didn't make a difference because that was still the decision, but I at least said it. I at least said that the injustice was happening. And I went to each of those 5 women of color and I said, I am personally sorry that I couldn't have more impact on how the building could make a decision, but I want you to know how much I value you. I want you to know how unjust it is to me that the white man who was hired 45 minutes before you gets to keep his job because of that 45 minutes. It doesn't seem right. And I said that. It didn't make a difference, but I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep complaining, and I'm going to figure out ways that we don't have to face this again. So how do we create spaces in our lives where we take those risks? How do we risk and become more authentic? That's just the question. I don't have the answer, but I have the question. Raise it as you're moving through your days. Raise the notion, how am I becoming more authentic? And then the last point that I'm wanting to talk about is the great both and. We are creatures that express inwardly and outwardly. We live in both spaces simultaneously. So Jeanette Winterson said, the earth is round and flat at the same time. This is obvious. That it is round appears indisputable. That it is flat is the common experience, and that's indisputable. The globe does not supersede the map. The map does not distort the globe. It's both and. Our experience, is anybody feeling like they're going to fall off the planet because of its roundness? No. But earlier today, Jeffrey and Michael were talking about the size of a building at Boeing. It had to take into account the curvature of the earth because it's so big. Most buildings are designed to be flat. That one had to be designed to say, wait a second, if we make this flat, we're going to have some major structural issues. Hans Rosling wrote, human beings have a basic urge to divide things into 2 distinct groups with nothing but an empty gap between. We love to dichotomize. Good versus bad. Heroes versus villains. My country versus the rest. Dividing the world into two distinct sides is simple and intuitive, and also dramatic because it implies conflict, and we do it without thinking all the time. Okay, so what we know, what we can propose, and what we can play with is the notion of the great both and, rather than being stuck with an outdated, overly simplistic either or. First step to recognizing that habit of thought, recognize the limitations of either or thinking, and start to ask, what if? What if it's bigger than this or that? What if it isn't just this or that? What if it isn't just gun rights versus safety? What if it's more? What if the two solutions, stop guns or promote guns, what if it's bigger than that? There are techniques like visualizing what we want to change. There are language things that we can do. How often do we come upon a thing and say, I can't do this? Has anyone ever said, I can't do this? Okay. What if you just add this little tag at the end? I can't do this yet. Instead of the implied, I can't do this ever, I can't do this yet. Or I can't do this on my own. Or I can't do this unless. What if we adjust that language? The I can't do this to I can't do this yet, unless, until, when. And then finally, just act. Do something that we're afraid of. Try something new. So, there's a couple of other things. When we find ourselves falling into binary thinking, that either or, it's this or it's that, can't be anything else, because it's too much trouble to figure out what the other else could be, question our assumptions. We're presented with two options, this place or this place. Can we ask, is there something better? Take the step back and ask why we're willing to stick with these two simple ideas. So question your assumptions. The next one for getting out of the binary thinking is reframe the situation. How can we look at this as something different? I think Northern Lights is a good example of doing that. We had a place to go, and then we didn't. So we could have just stuck with the either or. We had a place, and now we don't. Wah, wah. So in the meantime, we did church out of our house. The dog and cat generally loved it.
The cat more than the dog.
Yeah, the cat was actually I got very fond of Reba. I don't know that the cat's ever been this fond of Reba in the past, has she? No. So it's like, church in the house made Reba like, I like you. I didn't know it, but I like you. So reframe the situation. I mean, this, we did not draw, years ago we had a pancake breakfast at the Masonic Lodge, just down the street less than a half a mile. When we were having that pancake breakfast, we had no vision. I know that there must be a building that's just down the street a little ways, and we should check it out. Reframe the situation. So that's number 2. Question the assumption, reframe the situation. Oh, here's the third one. Now this one might hang on to your seat for a minute. Be more open-minded.
Oh.
So consider new ideas. It's like, I mean, what Michael has talked about it a little bit. All of us love to think, I love change. I embrace change. Change is my middle name. Unless somebody asks us to change something that we deem important about ourselves. They were like, I'm not changing that. No, 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 no. How can we be more open-minded about what we're facing? Practice creative thinking. Come up with new ideas and solutions. Stephanie is fabulous with this on the core council for what we do. She's like, what else can we do? You know, we have a declaration because of Stephanie. Stephanie has taken any number of courses and she's like, okay, this is what I learned, let's use it. You know, so creative thinking. And I hope that the experience of the creative thinking is that you met with open-mindedness as opposed to And finally, another way to expand out of just merely binary thinking is once again, take action. Do something you're afraid of doing or try something new. So, to embody the creative practice, what are the three things? We have to know our minds, right?
Yeah.
And one of the ways to know our minds is when we find ourselves triggered, that's a good clue that we might be coming on something that is not as bright and light and glorious and wonderful as we'd like to think about ourselves. Engage authentically. So we have our values, and how do we line them up with how we live? And then number 3, accept that there's something bigger than either or thinking. When we hear either or, we can say, aha! Do you realize, folks, this is an opportunity. It isn't either or. This is a place where we may discover more. So instead of either or, we can discover more. Instead of either or, we can discover more. It's the both and. So as we walk through the light and darkness in our lives, around us and within us, we can savor those experiences rather than simply holding on to the notion that we are always, we are only light. We are only truth. We are only justice. We are only that list of good attributes. That even those things that we have dispatched, even those things from our shadow, that we're like, I don't really like being connected to that. We can dig into it and explore how it became a part of us. And is there a value connected there that we may still want to explore? Or is it a plant that we want to uproot? By bringing something into the light, our relationship with it may change. I would declare that both and is necessary. So I have an affirmation. Oh, and I didn't give it to you to be able to put up on the screen. So I apologize, Victor, since you won't see it, but he will send it out. Michael will send it out.
Oh.
So my inner journey, and outer experiences, co-create with the expanding universe. My inner journey, and outer experiences, co-create with the expanding universe. And one more time, my inner journey, and outer experiences, co-create with the expanding universe. And so it is. So now we are going to revisit God is All There Is, but this is done as a choir piece. So it isn't just one voice, it's many voices. And since you've heard the song, if you want to sing in with the choir, feel free.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. Did you want to explain?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Ah. Thank you, Reverend Vaughan. The talk title got changed from what it was, so it was a little precarious, or whatever. I don't know what the word would be, but it turned out good. I like the talk title. And this week we spent getting the place more ready. Had to make some adjustments, a little tweaking here and there, and that's good. That's as we go on in life, you know. It's like Reverend Vaughan said, this the one I think I've had the most problems with it is both and, because so many times things are, it's either this or this. There's no gray zone. When you find out in life, there's a lot of gray zone. I mean, there's what you call compromise too, and that sometimes for me is, I like to be able to do that, but I have to get out of my way sometimes, or a lot of times, because I get so stuck in, you know, being what, as old as I am. I've had lots of years of practice, and so that both and is a I think a great way to approach so many things. Let's see now. I want to thank Jeffrey again. He this week he came down here on Monday. He did some measuring and some brainstorming. I imagine it took a little brainstorming to create a stabilization bar. Ooh, that was a big one. For the
ADA bars.
ADA bars or stand that's in the bathroom, so that they go, wow, He said you could actually come and do acrobats on it now, but I'm not inviting anybody to do that. I don't know how the insurance company would, look at that. Well, how'd you injure yourself? Well, I was doing
acrobatics.
acrobatics in the bathroom.
A balance beam.
Okay.
Because Reverend Michael said so.
Yeah. No, you don't. I withdraw, but thank you, Jeffrey. And let's see, what else is there? I'm trying to think.
Popcorn.
Yes, I was going to that, but I was thinking of anything before that, but I don't think I have anything else. And we can donate either online, or we have a little offering basket here. Whatever you offer is great. It's greatly appreciated, because people can only give what they can give. And my personal philosophy is they only give what you can freely give, not to take yourself out of commission or whatever by saying, oh, I have to give so much. It has to come from the heart. It has to come from within you. Like my saying is, life is an inside job. And so you have to feel comfortable. And we are grateful for anything and all that comes within this doors. And we're grateful for each and every one of you who come through the doors or who visit us through the ethers. It is amazing what can be done. 10 years ago, we wouldn't be doing this. I don't think, would we? No. I suppose the next thing is we'll be meeting each other around. I'm not sure about that. But I'm just so grateful that people show up. And that they show up, I believe, in their authentic self. Bringing up the idea about expressing our authenticity. Oh, that is one of my high priorities, is to be authentic. Be authentic and being in integrity. And so I'm grateful for all you show up as who you are. And the next time you show up, you may have to be a little bit different, which actually you probably will be. Because life has happened. And life happens to us. And so for whatever happens, we are here to support each other. To support, to uplift each other, We're not alone in this process called life. Sometimes it feels like we're alone because we're afraid to share, to share that authenticity, to share that inner self that we want to sometimes hide so much. So I give thanks for each and every one of you. And I give thanks for the space that we have room to expand and grow. That we are no longer a teacup community. We are an expanding community. Right here, right now, we are expanding. And so I give thanks for the divine love, the divine presence within all of us, and I let it go because I know it spreads out through the universe, and so it is.
So it is.